In this episode of Entertainment Education, the podcast, the one with comedy, we explore the unique relationship between comedy, communication, and learning. While humor is often seen as a source of entertainment, it has long served as a powerful tool for educating audiences, challenging assumptions, and encouraging conversations about issues that might otherwise be difficult to discuss. From stand-up comedy to satire to viral memes and social media content, comedy continues to shape how we people understand the world around it. Joining me as co-host this episode is comedian and communication expert Chris Ford.
Help Spanish. You're taking 12th grade calculus?
Yeah, I like math.
Ew, why?
Because it's the same in every country.
It's beautiful.
Entertainment Education, the podcast, an 8-part series where host Alan Babiars-Lira will take you through the journey of how entertainment can educate and create social change.
Oh, yes, the past can hurt. But the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Entertainment Education, the podcast. We've made it to episode 5. And you know what? We're going to talk about something real funny this episode. We're going to be talking about comedy and how comedy impacts education. And joining me this episode, and I say it every week, but I have a very special guest with me, the funny Chris Ford. Chris, welcome to the episode today. How are you, my friend?
I am good. Thank you for having me. And I feel like you put the pressure on me now because you called me funny more than once. So like I think I really have to deliver now.
Huh? Should I add an adjective? Funny looking, funny smelling, funny
I
something,
mean, it's probably been all of those at some point or another.
Well, do you mind if we just jump into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, I want to know and introduce you to a little bit to our listeners. So tell me a little bit about you. How did your passion for comedy come about, and how do you let it hit your career?
Yeah, so growing up, I was actually blessed. My great aunt was involved in Hollywood. Her name is
Hmm.
George Ann Johnson, and she's been in movies and TV, and so there's always been that artistic side that has been there. And when I get to college, I saw Whose Line Is It Anyway for the first
Oh,
time.
love classic. Yes, love it.
Yes, and I
I've actually
watched that.
seen the since, but I've seen the tour a few times since the show's ended.
Yep, I'm planning. They're going to be here nearby here soon, so I'm going to go and watch them. That will be my second time. And I saw that and I thought, wow, this is amazing. I mean, I'd always loved watching, any comedies, stand up, anything. And I saw Whose Line, and I thought, wow, this is like, it just really resonated with me in a way that nothing had before. And I
Mhm.
thought, boy, I would love to do this. So, uh, fast forward a little bit, I go into a communications track. I start off working in radio, and I
Mhm.
did news and sports. And in those areas, like I had to be serious all the time because I'm reporting on things that are often, very serious things. And I remember I was in a community meeting one time when I was serving on a board, and somebody said, I didn't even know you had a sense of humor. I had made some joke in the meeting, and like that was an absolute shot to the heart at that point. Because at that point, I didn't have a lot of outlets where I could be myself and be funny. So there was an improv class offered at Lincoln Trail College, the community college where I now work.
Mhm.
And I took that, and it was like, this is home. So I took it again the next time it was offered. And then the instructor left. And I'm like, oh no, like this was a great outlet for me. I had so much fun. So I'm like, you know what? I want to teach this.
Mm.
So I tried, and the first time I tried to teach it, unfortunately, the enrollment was there, not, so it wasn't there, so it didn't happen.
Mhm.
So eventually, what they did is they changed that class from a credit bearing class to a community ed class. And I
Mhm.
got the opportunity again to teach that. So I've taught improv for, several years.
Mhm.
I've had the opportunity. We formed an improv troupe and we went out and had a lot of fun entertaining people. Unfortunately, life got in the way for us, so we're kind of on hiatus right now. But improv has been one of those passions that I've had.
Mhm.
I There would be a day where, like, if I could do that professionally, absolutely, I would love to do that. Would I
Mhm.
love to do comedy as a career? Yeah, I just don't know if I have the stand up in me to make that part work.
So you were literally just telling us how improv is your passion. How can we, how do you think we can bring improv into education?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've told people a lot when I talk about improv, it's more than just being funny, and it's really reacting to the situation that you're in. And when you zoom out a little bit more, that's every day. I mean, even right now, you and I, as we're doing this, we're improving. I
Mhm.
don't know what you're going to say. You don't know what I'm going to say. And we just have to build off each other. So, yes, in the improv world, you have your yes and you build off of
Mhm.
that. It's not exactly like that, obviously, in real life, but you are reacting to a situation, and I think that's a really good lesson that you can use in a classroom where you can put people together, have them, work through something and say, let's say we're doing a history class, for example. So maybe
Mhm.
we're going to have you react like, you're in this whatever situation it happens to be. And, we want you to kind of put together what you think life would be like then.
Right,
Um,
yes, and no,
yeah,
but if we are, I don't know, for full disclosure for the listeners, this is right after the 4th of July, or shortly after the 4th of July, I should say. You know, you are in that room writing the Declaration of Independence. What, act it out, go.
yep.
What would happen?
Right. Yeah. You're one of the founding fathers. What are you going to say to get people excited about this?
Mhm.
And it's a great way to get people excited and engaged, certainly when they do that. A lot of people love to ham it up a little bit when they can. So,
Absolutely.
it's a great way to do something like that. And the other part of it is it really teaches active listening,
Mhm.
because you have to really pay attention to what the other person is saying and react based off of that. And here we go again. We talk about soft skills that we want our students to learn, and active listening is one of those things that I don't care what you are doing for your career, you're going to have to listen at some point and work from what you just heard. So,
Absolutely.
picking up that skill in a way that is fun and exciting, like what a perfect way to bring something into the classroom and have some fun, get your students engaged and just go.
You're absolutely right. The transferable skills are basic levels as, instructors that we use. And listening is one of the communication skills that is the highest rated that not only do people need to work on, but also, people need to participate in a little bit more, if you will. But on a basic, going on another whim here, going on a basic level, comedy is about the main purpose of comedy is to get people laughing, right?
Right. Yeah.
But we're talking right now that it can educate audiences. So why do you think humor it can be an effective way to communicating messages that could be, either important or, it could be dark, it could be a sad message, dealing with some kind of emotion. Why can humor help that?
So one of the things I love about humor is it's very engaging. Again, talk to about anyone in a classroom, and at some point they probably have sat there and seen the blank stares from their students and wondered, are they listening? Are they paying attention? How can I get them to be better involved in my classroom? And I think humor is a great way to do that. It lightens the mood a little bit. There's always a little bit of a feel with, sitting in a classroom that you have a teacher there and they're this like big, powerful authority figure, and we all want to be approachable in education. And humor, I think, really helps us be more approachable. It, like I said, there's that engagement, and you can remember things. You'll remember that funny joke, but you might not remember that 15-minute lecture about this math equation or the proper use of a semicolon or whatever. We want you to remember those things, but
Mhm.
if we're just up there, droning on, then we might not reach the audience in the way that we're hoping to reach the audience.
Right before we started recording, we were literally talking about that, how making a lighthearted environment um, with something like a shirt or something else helps stick students together. And comedy is one of those tools, I feel.
Absolutely. It brings us together, and that's what I love. There are so many different forms of humor, obviously, and not everybody is going to resonate with every kind of humor, but there's that like base level that everybody will kind of be in a little bit on a, cracking a joke here or there every once in a while.
So, there's some harsh topics out there: politics, mental health, race relationships, all of the above. And some of these giant comedians tackle these issues, right? These aren't off limits for anybody. You can go back to some of the greats, looking at like George Carlin attacking the FCC. That's a political statement right there with I can't think of the proper name, but he's the swear words you can't say on the
Yep.
air. That,
Yep.
that big one that he's known for, right? Um, so how does comedy make difficult conversations more approachable, you think?
Yeah, and it's a fine line because, certainly there's dark humor that you could use that could really turn people off. So, like there are some things that we probably don't want to joke about, but like I'll give an example just from my own experience. So one of the things that I've done in my life is I've taught active shooter training,
Mhm.
and very serious topic. And I kind of go back. So I've worked with our local police department for this for years, and I went to training. The first time I went to training to do this, I'm sitting with my friend who later goes on to become the police chief and now works for us. And I'm sitting behind a guy that looks like he is central casting for SWAT. If you remember, like GI Joe, there was a guy named Roadblock, and he was this
Mhm.
massive dude. This guy was more swole than Roadblock. He was enormous. And I used that as sort of an opportunity to level the playing field a little bit and loosen people up before we started going into a very serious topic, because I talked about how I'm sitting in this class and thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to be able to do all of this? This guy, his arms are bigger than most people's legs.
Mhm.
And I'm making light of that situation because then I'm going to say, well, this is how you can take these same concepts and do them yourself. You don't have to be a guy like that. And, I have a little bit of fun with it. I'm a generously proportioned individual. So I talk about, looking more like I'm on Meal Team 6 rather than, somebody that should be up there talking about things like this. But, what that does is it helps relax the audience. So, here's a case where if you are talking about a really sensitive subject, you can provide a little bit of levity at the beginning before you get into the really serious aspects of this. Like, no, nobody wants to hear jokes about the Holocaust. Like, we shouldn't ever go there. But, maybe before that, we could do something that helps ease us into the very serious, dark topic that it is. And, when you talk about politics, I mean, go back to forever, really, as long as we've had print, we've had editorial cartoons that lampoon politicians, or lampoon different things that are going on in society. So it's always happened. And finding those ways to help engage your students, again, is a great way. Let me show you this political cartoon from 1897 to talk about this particular topic.
So is there then, because you kind of started talking about this and you tiptoed around it, is there a fine line between using humor to educate and then using humor to like unintentionally reinforce some kind of misinformation?
Yeah, no, like absolutely. Look at memes now, and you see so many memes out there that do, really help, resonate that misinformation. And we don't want to be doing that, obviously. Where I think humor fits best with any of these is, probably that light introduction. And if we can find a good way to reinforce something with humor, especially with serious topics, that is not going to be so wild that we're, off-putting and offending or something like that. I think it's a great way to do that. And the reality too is I think self-deprecating humor in some of these situations can be really good. You look at now where being a little cringy sometimes can be fun and help people remember a little bit more. I think right away to the meme of the, hey kids. So, I think all of that is there. And again, it's just what I'm kind of getting at is, yeah, we do have to be mindful, certainly, that there are some topics where we don't want to go there.
Absolutely. Do you mind if we jump into TV for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, this is a Pandora's box I'm about to open, but today's media landscape is probably the craziest we've ever seen. Obviously, a lot of it is politically driven, but something like late night TV, we look at politics now satirically. We have like The Daily Show and other things that, yeah, are tackling these giant issues, but in a comedic way. So, what educational role then do you think comedy plays in the media?
Realistically, there are probably some people out there that would not be informed about what's happening if it weren't for, late night TV, The Daily Show, and things like that. Like anything, you have to be a little bit critical with the media that you're looking at, and understand that if I watch something from The Daily Show, I'm getting a certain perspective on that. They are writing things in a way to be funny. Whereas if
Mhm.
I watch the regular news, they are trying to be, right down the middle and informative rather than entertaining. Uh, with that said, you look at the Daily Show and they do a good job still presenting all of the information while being entertaining doing it. And the other thing you have to think about too is editing. I love watching the man on the street type videos, and you see these all the time where somebody is going out and they're interviewing people and asking them questions. And like Jordan Klepper is a great example where he's done
Mhm.
that. You are obviously seeing the responses there that are driven for the most comedic effect, or in some cases, driven for the point that someone is trying to make. You're not
Mhm.
seeing everything. So when you watch that, you have to keep that in mind, that you are seeing an extremely small sample of what really happened. And at some point you're almost seeing caricatures of average people in those.
Mhm. We get a beautiful comedic upbringing from like Billy Eichner, who came up with like Billy in the Streets and was out there and doing these social media kind of posts and coming there. So let's jump to social media for a little bit. It's definitely made the world much more accessible, right? People can become content creators and influencers at a drop of a hat, right? People create these videos and memes. So, how do you feel social media has changed the way audiences learn through humor?
You see people now that create a whole ideology based on memes,
Mhm.
for better or worse. And again, like you said, it's opened the world to anybody can be a content creator. And there's good and bad to that. Again, I remember when I went to college 100 years ago, it feels like.
Same,
Uh,
same.
yeah, if you wanted to have a platform to get your voice or your video or your images out there, you had to have access to a newspaper or a TV station or a radio station and have expensive equipment in order to do these things. Whereas now all of that sits on your phone that everyone
Mhm.
has. Uh, what that means is there's no longer the kind of gatekeeping that there used to be to get things out there. Again, for better or worse. Uh, you see all the time now, and I see this regularly, where there will be people that will only post memes from their political slant, for example. And many of those often come with the little disclaimer where somebody has, community noted something that is
Mhm.
not accurate. So right away, there's a lot more work on a consumer of media to figure
Mhm.
out what's right, what's not right, what's a good source, what isn't. And that can be really hard now because you're drinking through a fire hose and there's so much content coming at you, and the algorithms really push toward controversy.
Yeah,
So you tend to see things where people are reacting usually negatively. So social media sometimes can feel very dystopian.
absolutely. Absolutely. And let's talk about creating those videos that make those people stand out, right? Because the on a looking at comedy on a basic level, the point is to get to the punchline and hit that punchline, right? So what storytelling techniques can we use to build that narrative and get to that punchline?
Yeah, short form video is amazing.
Hmm.
You look back to the days of Vine, and like you had 6 seconds to do
Yes.
your thing. And I live in a space where my job is heavily influenced by social media. I live in that space, so I understand. I see the metrics of watch time and things like that, and you have about 3 seconds to hook somebody.
Mhm.
So you really have to, if you're creating something, think about how am I going to capture attention literally right away.
Mhm.
And that's really hard, especially when we're thinking about the landscape of education, where, we're used to, all right, today's going to be a 45-minute lecture on whatever. I mean, we've
Mhm.
all tried to do a good job of getting away from things like that and being more interactive, but still, when you're putting something on an LMS, you need to be mindful that maybe I need to find a way to distill this down to 10 to 15 seconds to keep attention. And then you have to think now more and more, not only do I need to get my point across, but how can I get my point across in an entertaining way?
Mhm.
Um, again, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to tell jokes or dress strangely in some weird costume or something. Uh, but you need to do something that, right off the bat is going to get people excited. You have to, even if you're not using comedy, you have to kind of take on a little personality in your videos, no matter what you're doing. Um, Gone are the days that I'm going to go up and monotone some point about something and hope that my students are going to listen to that.
Exactly. When we were in college, we had the 45-minute lectures that we had to sit through and listened. And, when I first started in the classroom, that's how I modeled my teaching because that's what I knew, right? And we've definitely had to evolve. I've been teaching now. This fall is going to be my 14th year I'm starting, and I now have to break courses up into segments. Like, well, the first 20 minutes will do this, the second 20 minutes will do this, the third 20 minutes will do this. Because of that, because many students can't handle the 45-minute discussion anymore because I don't want to say I hate that argument that attention spans are getting shorter. It's I think that people's willingness to listen is getting shorter.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm going to give you a virtual right here crystal ball, and I'm going to let you look ahead to the future. I'm just I don't know. We'll say the next 10 years or so. How do you think that entertainment education, comedy, and the classroom in general are going to shift? Your best guess, your best guess. Um,
I really do think that one of the changes that we're going to see is, making our classes more consumable, more entertaining. Um, you look at the success of like TikTok and how that has gotten people watching very short videos. I think you're going to see a lot more things like that where, even now you're taking those, maybe 3 20-minute lectures, and now how do I break those up into 1 minute segments? And you're going to see that, and they're all going to work together, but they're also going to stand alone. I think you're going to see more of that. I think now you're seeing instructors too. Like there's very public feedback about our instructors now.
mhm,
That again, when I was in school, walking uphill both ways, yeah, we did surveys with our professors at the end of the semester, but nobody ever saw that data, as far as other students go. You heard through the grapevine that,
I was gonna say, yep, the
yep,
reputations were word of mouth.
yep, you'd hear that, but like now you can go online and you can easily see more about people and our instructors. And I think you're going to see even more of that, where there's going to be some drive where, like, if you are entertaining and engaging, that will be recognized more. And again, I think a lot of that engagement does come through humor in some way. Again, we're not going to say that now we're going to a type 5 of a stand-up routine for my math class, but
Mhm.
we're going to find a way that, how can I make this more really entertaining, more engaging for our students to watch? So I think we're going to see a lean into that a little bit more. We've seen education shift a lot away from the whole sage on a stage mantra that you and I saw when we were in college, and we've
Mhm.
tried to make things more interactive. And I think as that continues to evolve, I think seeing some level of being entertaining in there is going to be a part of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that point of view. That's fantastic. All right, Chris, before we leave the audience today, tell me what you are doing, what's coming up, where can people find you, any or all of the above. Pick, throw it in a hat, whatever you want to do. Let us know.
Absolutely. So, you're welcome to follow me on Facebook, Chris Ford, and it's Ford with an E. Most people
Not like
will
the
drop
car.
off that E. So, feel free to follow me on Facebook. I tend to be the kind of person, I like to post a lot of memes on there and just sort of have fun. Professionally, one of the things that I have coming up that I'm pretty excited about is coming up this fall, I am going to be serving as a moderator for a panel at the Social Media Strategy Summit for Higher Education. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I've been attending this conference for a few years. This is the third year in a row, actually, where I have been a presenter or a moderator or both. So specifically, this panel is going to be about branding. Really
Mhm.
excited about this. It's always been a really informative conference. It's a virtual conference, so I don't get to go somewhere like super fun, but that's okay. It's always been a really great conference to hear what other colleges across the country, and sometimes from even other countries, are doing on their social media to make it better. Like I said, marketing and communications is the space I live in every day. So social media is something that has been big for me. I'm proud of myself that I've kind of become a social media expert in a lot of ways and really enjoy doing that. I've had the opportunity to work with our local chamber, and I've actually traveled and given some social media presentations for other chambers of commerce in the area, and always look forward to being a part of the conference as well.
That is very cool. I'm gonna have to look that up because that is right up my alley. So I'm gonna have to check that out. But I'm gonna throw these at you. Surprise!
Okay.
Before we close out the episode, I'm gonna throw some rapid fire questions at you. Okay? So just tell me your first thought. And if
Okay.
you want, you can explain your answer, but it is not required. You can just let it be.
Okay. Let's do it.
All right? Are you ready? Are you ready? Hang on, let me
Let's do it.
stretch a little
Yes.
bit here. All
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
All right. All right, I'm ready. Favorite stand-up comedian?
Oh, wow. That's tough.
I'm like asking who's your favorite child?
Yeah, yeah. Probably Bill Engvall.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I remember the Bill Engvall show.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Sitcom shows or comedy movies?
So movies, I love the Naked Gun movies and that whole
Mm,
style.
yes.
Anything from that sort of genre, I love. For sitcoms, I'm kind of an animation guy. Like I've been with The Simpsons since day one. Love King of the Hill, Family Guy, all of those. Like that's my jam.
Is laughter really the best medicine?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, I love traditional medicine, but boy, I love to laugh, and it feels great.
What is here's another difficult one. What is the funniest movie you've ever seen?
Whew, that is a tough one. I probably would go with I'm going to say Airplane.
Oh, that's a good one too, John Candy.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave you with a probably a difficult one as well. If you could attend one comedian show, past or present, who would it be?
I would love to see George Carlin in his heyday.
Hmm.
Travel back to like that 70s era and see him at that point in his career.
I would love that, like to see people at that point in like Second City,
Yes.
SNL, all that time period. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I guess if I could revise my answer, I would probably say, seeing like a taping of Whose Line Is It Anyway would be amazing.
Hmm.
Part of it because I would also like to see all of the stuff that doesn't make it to the final cut.
Yeah, that too, because
You
they
know,
take, a long amount of footage and break it into this 22-minute little segment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I had the opportunity to take a class from Laura Hall from Whose Line, musical improv,
I
and
love that.
yes, it was amazing. And she talked about, uh, they had a lot of stuff that just didn't hit at that moment, or they stumbled their words or whatever. Those are the things I would love to see.
Was Linda Taylor there also? No.
No, I wish. I wish.
No, no, like I told you, I'm a Who's Line fan, Drew Carey and Aisha Tyler. Give me either.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Like Colin Mockery, love the man. Wayne Brady is
Absolutely.
just unbelievable. I'm hoping Ryan Stiles is going to be in the group when I see the Who's Live tour this fall. He's scheduled to be there, and he's one I'd love to see because I love his style as well.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, first and foremost, I thank you, thank you, thank you so much for joining me today. I had a blast chatting, and I hope you did too.
I did. I appreciate, the opportunity. This was a lot of fun. It's obviously an area that I have a lot of passion, and it was just a blast.
Oh, it really, really was. I hope you can join us in a further season again. For the listeners out there, we have 3 episodes left this season, and coming up next on episode 6, we are talking about short form media. So hey, that's a great conversation starter today,
Yeah.
with short form content. So next episodes, and then we have horror, and then of course my favorite, Disney. And as my friend Mickey Mouse says, we'll see ya real soon.